Hey there everyone, it's LittleKuriboh again. You know, a lot of people ask me, LittleKuriboh, why don't you abridge Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0? It would be so funny, lol. Well, the answer is simple. It's because I can't find any high-quality RAWs anywhere. I know they must exist because otherwise people wouldn't be able to subtitle those episodes, but trust me when I tell you they're impossible to find. So I figured, why not do the next best thing and review the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga? That way I'd be giving you all a half-hearted attempt at the videos you actually want me to do, and I can also rip off talented people like the Nostalgia Critic and Linkara in the process. Ha! Anyway, on to the review. The manga opens with the image of some ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, accompanied by the narration explaining that there were once these things called the shadow games that allowed people to predict the future. They also allowed people's souls to be destroyed, but they conveniently leave out that little detail. It's not even written in small print, those wacky Egyptians. We then have this picture, and holy crap, Yugi's hands are massive! Seriously, look, his index finger is thicker than his neck. That's terrifying! And why is he marching like a Nazi? What the hell is going on? Geez, 2 pages into this thing and I think I already need therapy. So, it's a typical school day and Yugi's sitting by himself playing with a game of Pop-Up Pirate. He's reluctant to join in with the other kids because it conflicts with his busy schedule getting his ass handed to him by the infinite number of bullies that also attend class at Domino High. Actually, that's not the reason. The real reason is because he wants to try to solve the Millennium Puzzle, which he has kept hidden in his school bag. The Millennium Puzzle has a riddle inscribed upon it. This treasure can be seen, but you haven't seen it. Well, I wish it was describing Land of the Lost. I saw that movie on the flight over to Detroit, along with My Sister's Keeper, which is a film about a girl dying of cancer. Land of the Lost? Way more depressing. We're then introduced to Joey and Tristan, or should I call them Jonochi and Honda. At this point in the manga, Honda looks like one of the hillbillies from Deliverance. You sure do got a pretty mouth, Yugi. They steal the puzzle box from Yugi and begin to torment him. Yugi begs them to stop, while Honda does his impression of the sprite from Frogger. I swear, Jonochi here looks just like Tom Cruise's character from Magnolia. I half expect him to start talking about how Yugi should respect the and tame the... well, you know. Yugi is too busy being astounded by Jonochi's huge and apparently radioactive hand to care about any of that. Jonochi wants to teach Yugi how to act like a man. But I hate fighting and violence! Kind of a redundant statement. It's like saying, I hate Jell-O and pudding. Or, I hate bad Adam Sandler movies. Okay, I know I keep mentioning this, but why the hell do the characters all have such huge hands? What, did they all get stung by hornets? What gives? It's like that scene in the new Star Trek movie where Kirk's hands swell up to ridiculous proportions, proving once again that humor and science fiction don't mix. Unless, of course, it's Red Dwarf. Honda continues to threaten Yugi with his rape face when Anzu shows up out of nowhere and comes to Yugi's defense. This is enough to frighten the 2 wicked bullies away. Yugi is grateful, but Anzu tells him, Don't flatter me! I just saw a nice guy being taken advantage of! But enough about my yaoi collection. How are you doing, Yugi? Anzu hates guys like Jonochi and Honda. Apparently they once tried to perv on her during a basketball game. Basketball isn't meant for looking up girls' skirts! Yeah, that's what cheerleading is for. At this point, Yugi starts to fantasize about seeing up Anzu's skirt. Our protagonist, ladies and gentlemen, a midget pervert with a gaming fetish and hands twice the size of his own torso. Anzu starts to question Yugi about his puzzle box. He lets her see inside it as long as she promises to keep it a secret. Inside the box, we see what looks like puzzle pieces. So it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect to see inside a puzzle box. Not sure what the big secret is here, Yugi. Wow, so pretty! They glitter like gold. What are they parts of? They're disconnected. Much like those random-ass statements you're spouting, Anzu. Yugi explains that he doesn't know what the finished puzzle will look like. It's a thing that can be seen, but you haven't seen it. So it's shaped like David Caruso's acting talent? He tells her that he lives in a game shop with his grandpa, where there are all sorts of rare and unusual and exotic games, like Zack and Wiki too. Hey, a guy can dream. He keeps the puzzle around as a memento of his grandpa. Anzu hears the word memento and automatically assumes Yugi's grandpa is dead. Also, she decides to tattoo the words John G. raped and murdered my wife backwards across her chest. Not sure why. Yugi tells her that the puzzle was found in some Egyptian ruins. Yes, apparently the pharaohs were all buried alongside their favorite party games. I believe Tutankhamun was buried along with his copy of Naked Jenga. The person who solves this puzzle will have one wish granted. Like Dragon Ball! Oh, please don't tell me he's going to wish for Bulma's panties. Apparently the puzzle is very difficult. Yugi's been trying to solve it for, wait for it, 8 years. 8 years! That's a heck of a long time to try to solve a friggin' puzzle. Jeez Louise, Yugi, did you at least check GameFAQs.com? Also, what the hell happened to your nose? Anzu asks him what his wish is going to be, but it's a secret. Personally, I'd wish for hands that aren't quite so disproportionate to the rest of my body. Meanwhile, Jonouchi and Honda bump into a character called Yugioh, whose eyebrows would make Martin Scorsese feel small and inadequate. He antagonizes them a little, so Jonouchi tries standing up to him. But Tristan slaps his enormous sausagey fingers over his mouth and quickly silences his brash declarations. For those of you who don't know, Yugioh went on to appear in the spin-off series Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, only in the English dub his character is known as Officer Trudge. Given that 5Ds is set many years into the future, we can either assume that Trudge is one of Ushio's children, and after all, who wouldn't want to start a family with this guy, or he simply doesn't age. Wow, so Yugioh is a Highlander. That explains everything. Now that I have said it, it must be canon. Jonouchi reveals that he has stolen part of Yugi's puzzle in an attempt to stop him from ever learning the secrets of the mystical item. This must be some strange parallel universe where nerds bully other nerds. He then exclaims, "Without this piece, his riddle becomes, it is a treasure, but now the treasure is lost." Yeah, that made about as much sense as any given YouTube comment. And then he throws the piece out of the window where it lands at the bottom of the swimming pool in a scene that echoes the part in Advent Children with Cloud's cell phone. Except this scene doesn't drag on for about 5 minutes and it isn't absolutely ridiculous. Later, Yugioh confronts Yugi and offers to become his bodyguard, just like Kevin Costner in that one movie with Whitney Houston. I forget what it was called. Once again, Ushio's hands are roughly the size of the pyrotechnics budget on a Michael Bay movie. Way too big! Yugi just walks away, wondering what his problem is. This from the kid who sits alone in class and dicks around with a puzzle that he hasn't managed to solve in 8 freaking years while fantasizing about girls' asses. Our protagonist, ladies and gentlemen! Yugi gets home and apparently Anzu has been waiting outside the game shop for him all day. Yugi practically climaxes upon realizing that he's actually going to spend time with a girl outside of school, staring at her crotch the whole time. Then we meet Grandpa Sugoku, who looks like a Fraggle and sounds like a Pokemon. Sugoku! Sugoku! Anzu sees him and immediately starts freaking out. Can you really blame her? And it's at this point that I notice Yugi's grandpa has apparently got a severed hand just sitting there amongst all the game merchandise. That explains everything. Grandpa has obviously been systematically slicing off everybody else's hands and replacing them with much larger appendages, in an attempt to make his own appearance seem less horrifying. Now that I have said it, it must be canon. Anzu gets all up in Yugi's face about the fact that he told her the puzzle was a keepsake, to which he responds that he meant it would someday be a keepsake. Oh, you Japanese people and your jokes that nobody else understands. Meanwhile, Grandpa starts having a Vietnam flashback or something. Then he comments on Anzu's breasts being much larger since the last time he saw her. Moving right along. Yugi takes the puzzle up to his room, leaving Anzu alone with Grandpa. And this, my friends, is why he will always remain a virgin. Sugoku explains the history of the Millennium Puzzle, telling us that it was found in the early 1900s by an English archaeological team. Afterwards, they all died in mysterious circumstances. The last one screamed something about a shadow game. Yeah, I probably would have died too if I'd foreseen this being made. Yugi examines the puzzle box and reads aloud the words, "To the one who controls me, I will give dark wisdom and strength." Upon seeing this, Yugi shouts, "I knew it! My wish will come true!" So I guess Yugi's always wanted to have the powers of hell at his fingertips. Our protagonist, ladies and gentlemen!